Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with April Lovett and Darryl Lovett, who are both pursuing educational doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies while being professional staff members. Thank you for being with me, and welcome to Coffee and Conversation, and for taking the time for this interview in your busy schedules.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Let's start with a little introduction. We'll start with you, April.
Hi, my name is April Lovett, and I am, like you said, pursuing my educational doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies, and that is in addition to working at Florida State University as well, full-time. I am working in academic affairs with the libraries and the Office of Research, and also with information technology services on an initiative called the Health Data Science Initiative. And I really love doing that because I get to work with researchers across the institution, and I get to kind of discover what they're working on, which I love to do because I love to learn everything about all of the research that's happening at FSU. So that's me. And I also get to pursue the doctorate and work at FSU along with my partner, Darryl, who's here. So I'll let him introduce himself too.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. My name is Darryl Lovett, everyone. I am also in the Educational Leadership and Policy program. I'm at Florida State University pursuing my doctorate. I also work at FSU, just as April mentioned. I work in the Vice President of Student Affairs Office. I serve as the Director of Staff Experience and Culture and DSA Special Projects. So to kind of explain what that is, I oversee for the Division of Student Affairs the onboarding process for new staff members, welcoming them, making sure that they find their sense of belonging from day one, making sure that we provide professional development opportunities and also create opportunities for them to connect with their peers and their colleagues across campus that also work within the division. On the special projects side, I have the opportunity of working with a lot of great people across campus with some of our fellowship programs, some of our collaborations with the mayor's office, as well as some other projects that we host through the vice president's office. So that's kind of a short version of it, but I get a chance to do a lot of great work with a lot of great people. And it kind of fits within my personality and my passion of working with people, helping them find a sense of belonging in their settings and workplace, as well as creating opportunities for them to connect and cultivating an organic and friendly and inclusive environment. I worked in campus recreation for a lot of years, and within that area, I oversaw fitness, facilities, programs, operations, well-being, wellness, in different aspects. And this has been a recent and good transition for me because it gives me an opportunity to use some of my skill sets that I've had, that I was strong in, that I just didn't really have the opportunity to use as much, and now serving the larger division as opposed to, the certain subgroups. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to engage in this conversation.
Awesome. So you are pursuing an EDD, an educational doctorate, which is different from a PhD. In what ways?
Well, the educational doctorate is a little bit different. I would say the academic coursework and the pathways that you go through are still the same academic rigor and the same amount of learning and knowledge, but the primary difference is that with your EDD, and primarily for people like Darryl and I who are, lifelong practitioners and we have always been involved and immersed in higher education in one way or another. Being able to use your educational doctorate and the research that you do for your dissertation and for other projects to really inform your practice, I think that's probably one of the primary differences, in that a PhD is typically you're testing hypotheses, or you're developing new theories, or you're doing groundbreaking research to contribute to a greater body. I think we do all those things too. With an educational doctorate, we really get a chance to put what we're doing to practice. And we get to display that, we get to do that in our everyday lives, even now, in what we're doing with our work.
So tell me more about your research specifically. What do you look at? Let's start with you, April.
Well, so the interesting thing is that, kind of like Darryl was saying, as we start, we're working, on our final project research, our dissertation research kind of throughout. But what I love about the program as well is that we're getting all of this current policy. We're learning new legislation, we're learning new practices and best practices for education. I will talk about my research, but I also just want to reiterate, I think it's really cool that we also get to do kind of these mini research projects in paper and in our writings and stuff throughout the program itself. So I've learned all about, how FSU is funded through Florida's performance-based funding. I've written about affirmative action. I've written about, oh my goodness, different things. I was able to do research on our withdrawal policy at FSU, our student withdrawal policy. So there's just really cool things that you get to research kind of throughout as you're progressing in your courses. And then for me specifically, my research, my dissertation is really evaluating, for me, I think that there's a gap in literature, in all of research literature, that really examines our staff members that work at institutions who are not considered faculty. And this is near and dear to me because, very similarly to Darryl, before I was a faculty member, I was a staff member, and I viewed myself as just as important to the mission of the university. I viewed myself as just as important, and sometimes, really crucial to helping a student navigate their way through the institution and helping them, retain and proceed and graduate. And it was just through those, one-on-one interactions and being able to see that work itself show up for that student. And so for me, my course of research is examining the experiences and perceptions of the staff members who contribute at the institution, but are not considered faculty and may not always feel like administration or leadership thinks that they're as important as faculty to the academic mission, even though, I truly believe that they are. So for me, that is my course of research. That's my pathway. And I'm excited to kind of see what comes from it. Like Darryl said, I think we're about halfway. We just submitted drafts for chapter 3. So I'm excited to get into the bulk of the research.
So what about your research, Darryl?
Yeah, so my research is, it's a little bit more personal for me. I am doing research on the perception of administrators who oversee mentorship programs for Black male students at predominantly white institutions. Identifying predominantly white institutions with a 51% or higher rate of their students self-identifying as white. And I'm also exploring large institutions which are classified by 20,000 or more through iPads. So I would like to know what the perception of administrators who are overseeing these programs are on the influence that they have on Black male students self-identified at these predominantly white institutions, sense of belonging. As we were talking earlier about my job and creating sense of belonging in my current work, that topic is near and dear to me personally as well as professionally. So My research is to kind of explore the mentorship programs that exist and the administrators who are overseeing those programs, and to get their insight on how those programs are existing, how they're being executed, as well as the data from assessments on the success of those programs, and if and how they are influencing, contributing to the sense of belonging for those students on their campuses.
So do you only look at FSU, or do you also look at other institutions?
I'm looking at other institutions nationally. So as long as they meet the criteria of being a large institution, which is 20 plus thousand, and predominantly white institutions, which is 51% or higher of their student population being self-identified as white, is my criteria for research, which FSU does fall into that category. So just exploring what type of programs are out there, what the administrators who are overseeing those programs are experiencing in their programs, and potentially bringing similar programs to FSU to support our male student population here. The last that I checked, our Black male student population at Florida State is, I want to say, close to or approximately 3% of the student population, right? Look at your eyes. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
that's such a low number.
Right. So I think that it would be a beneficial program here at FSU, but that's just based off of my opinion. So I want to do research to find out from other institutions that are similar to FSU that have these types of programs, and get the perceptions from the administrators who oversee the programs on these other campuses, and just see, if they are having success, how they're executing the program, and is it showing through research that the students that are part of the program are having an improved or increased sense of belonging.
So do you conduct interviews?
That is my method. Yes, absolutely. My methodology will be doing interviews with the administrators, qualitative, and kind of checking in and finding out as much as I can about the programs first and foremost. But also, it's important to learn from the administrators, perception, how they see the programs impacting or influencing the participants and their sense of belonging. So are the students showing up? Are they enjoying themselves by participating in the program? Do they feel supported? Do they feel like through participating in that program, their sense of belonging, is developed and evolved on campus?
So it has to be like, it cannot be, for instance, fraternities or students' organization. It has to come from administration.
Right, absolutely. So my focus is on mentorship programs specifically. And in literature, it does show that there are programs and student organizations that exist, but I'm focused more on the support from the administration side, because most of the student organizations are student-led, so that's peer-to-peer. So I am more interested in finding out how administrators, which are faculty and staff, how they can support the students, because, the students will find their way within their groups, and sometimes that leads them to experiences off campus, which faculty and staff, don't have as much control over. But while they are on campus, and even for some of our students that reside on campus, how do faculty and staff support those students? But it'll be open for all students that identify as Black male. But my focus is really on the administrators and how they can support the students, and let the student organizations do what they do naturally.
So on the side, you also have a podcast called Success in Black and White. Tell me more about that.
I'll start this one. So yes, we do have a podcast. Right now it's on pause, as we have explained all of the things that are going on in life. When we had the conversation about priorities and what can we put on hold, the podcast was one of those things that we said we could put on hold because we know once we return, we're going to have a lot to talk about. But yeah, so probably 2 years. I think we hosted our podcast, Success in Black and White, and um, what that is basically, I mean, if you look at April and I, you can see that there are some racial differences. We're interracial couple, and one of the things that we knew is that we loved each other, but our lived experiences came through in a lot of decisions, conversations. So we thought to just, create a platform to where we could share some of our lived experiences, and share some of the things that we have learned and grown through together, through the venue of a podcast, which is how and why we started it. So if we had to identify a theme or a co subject for it is bridging the gap between racial boundaries. And that's something that we do in life, something that we've had a chance to do with our kids. And we just want to share our story, share some of our experiences and what it looks like for us. And what we found out was that the community is, I mean, large, and there were a lot of people that were interested, and even more so, it was insightful because as we're talking about boundaries, it kind of crossed over into not just our personal relationship, but people were using some of the information that we're sharing, some of the stories that we're sharing to help guide them in, the professional relationships, work relationships, as well as interacting and engaging with people that are different from yourselves. So it was something that started out as an opportunity for us to just share our story, to share our insight, that has evolved to something much larger. We talk about all the things. We're very candid. We talk about our relationship. We talk about some of the things that we are doing and that impacts and influence our work. So I think it's a great avenue for us to just be expressive, in who we are as people and what we believe in. And it has been very rewarding and very encouraging to have people support us the way that they have, as well as lean on us for support in any situation that they are going through, whether it be a personal relationship or work relationship or just in general in interacting and engaging with people.
Oh, I was gonna say one of our most listened to episodes was when we were talking, and like Darryl said, the podcast has kind of been our lived experiences across a broad array of experiences, and we talk about everything. And I think one of our most listened to episodes was the one where we were talking about how we navigated and negotiated our different roles at home, like who does the dishes, whose job is it to do the dishes, stuff like that. And I think, like Darryl said, it's really cool just to have we would have people reach out to us all the time, and from a lot of different countries, and around the nation, just saying like, hey, this is great to listen to, what's your next topic, like we can't wait for you guys to be back on. And that's been fun too. So we're hopefully still building the anticipation for when we actually have time to do it again.
So how long have you been on pause?
Ooh, since we started the program, that was when Darryl talked about the fact that we had to negotiate for ourselves, things in order to balance our life fully, and still, adequately and effectively complete a doctoral program. The podcast was that thing that's been on pause for a little while. So I think 2021 was our last recorded episode. It won't be our last one, but as of right now, it was the last one we have recorded.
I was going to add a lot of the content, though, it's evergreen.
Yeah.
That we tell our stories and the information and content that we share, it's evergreen. So if you're listening today from episodes from 2 and 3 years ago, it's still take something away from it. That's one of the things that a lot of people have expressed they appreciate it, because as I go back and check our numbers, which are continuing to climb, I'm like, we haven't released an episode in a very, very long time, and people are still listening and still reaching out and still sending us messages about things they took away from episodes that we released well over 2-3 years ago. So I think that a lot of the content is evergreen, and if someone is interested, definitely go back and listen. And I feel like there are key points and things that you can take away.
For my last question, unfortunately, I don't have all the time in the world, although I have a lot more questions, but I have to let it go. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from today?
I'll start while April kind of ponders that thought, because for me, it hasn't really changed. What I enjoy doing and what I'm passionate about is encouraging, motivating, inspiring people to be the best that they can be, and to give what they feel they were placed on this earth to give to the world. And for me to be able to work in any capacity to support people in doing that is what I see myself doing in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, years. I feel like my purpose is that, and that's my calling. And in all of my jobs and all the work that I've done, in some capacity, I've been able to do that, whether it was working in recreation, where I was helping people find opportunities to connect in ways that, help them be physically active, and in my current role, where I'm now helping people feel a sense of belonging, also to develop as people and professionals. So I think all of my jobs, regardless of what it is, will include some aspect of that, because that's where I'm led, and that's what I'll be doing, I feel like, for the rest of my life.
I love hearing him say that, because for me, it's very similar, but in a different way. So the reason that Darryl and I complement each other so well in so many aspects, we were talking earlier about the way that we function, even as we're doing homework, is that we don't always have the same exact strategy. And for me, strategy is my game plan. It's what I love to do. I love to do evaluation, assessment, research, strategy, strategic planning. And the way that Darryl and I have worked together so well in the past with our past businesses, even at FSU when we worked together on different projects and in different ways, in parenting and homework, is that usually I play a very supporting role. And I mean that in saying I get to help plan, I get to be the brains behind the function, and he gets to carry out, because that's just how we were both built. And so I foresee us, no matter what role we're in, professionally, what the title is, I can foresee in 5 years being able to leverage the things that we've learned, not just working at FSU, but also in the doctoral program and our various experiences, the two of us being able to leverage that to really help people, like he said. And for me, my part might be more behind the scenes, because I'm better, and I am better. I'm better at the evaluation, assessment, and research processes, but he's better at being the people person, at speaking to people and really, influencing. And so I think for me, I answer that way just to say that, I don't know exactly what my role is. I don't know, what my pathway is going to be in 5 years, but I think no matter what it is, it's really going to leverage everything that we've done up to this point. And I think we'll still be working together, even if it's not even in the same like office or, department or division or whatever, we're still going to be working together to really have that impact on people.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a fantastic conversation. Again, I'm very impressed with everything that you're able to do. And I definitely want to interview more staff members because I think what you guys are doing is remarkable. Being able to handle a job, a full-time job, and being a full-time student is a challenge. And you should be recognized more. So thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.